Have you ever wondered what it really means to be a medium and what the different types of mediumship are? Maybe you've heard about people who can connect with the spiritual world but aren't quite sure how it works or what the different forms of this gift are. Well, today you're going to uncover all of this in a practical and easy-to-understand way. Here, we're going to explore together the 9 main types of mediumship, and I promise to explain everything in simple terms, no overcomplications. Whether you're new to Spiritism or someone who already knows a bit about the topic, this video will offer you valuable insights. And of course, by the end, I'll show you how these types of mediumship can impact your everyday life, even if you're not an active medium yourself. So stick with me until the end, because in addition to discovering these 9 types, you'll learn how they manifest and how they can transform the way you see the spiritual world. If this has already sparked your curiosity, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel so you never miss content like this. Now that we're on the same page, let's start with the basics. What does it mean to be a medium? In Spiritism, a medium is someone who has the ability to act as an intermediary between the world of the living, incarnated, and the world of spirits, discarnated. This means they serve as a channel, facilitating communication between these two realms. But before you think only a select few can be mediums, know that according to Spiritist doctrine, all of us possess some degree of mediumship. However, in some people, this ability is more developed or more evident. Have you ever thought about that? Maybe you have more spiritual sensitivity than you realize. A simple example is when you walk into a place and feel a different energy, whether good or bad. This perception of an environment, this sense that something is in the air, could be a form of spiritual sensitivity. Now, imagine this sensitivity amplified to the point where you can see, hear, or even feel the presence of a spirit. This is what we call ostensive mediumship. At this point, you might be wondering, have I ever experienced something like that? The answer could be yes, even if you didn't realize it. Ostensive mediumship is more intense and usually involves a clear interaction with the spiritual world. There are various types of mediumship, but today we'll focus on the 9 main ones. I'll explain each one, and as I do, think about whether any of these experiences have ever happened to you or someone you know. It's interesting to reflect on this because sometimes things we consider normal might actually be signs of mediumship. Shall we begin? The first type is the physical effects medium. As the name suggests, these mediums can produce phenomena that affect the physical environment around them. Have you ever heard of objects moving on their own or doors slamming without explanation? Well, these phenomena can be caused by physical effects mediums. These individuals have a unique ability to interact with the physical world through their connections with the spiritual realm. What's curious is that, contrary to what many believe, these phenomena follow natural laws. Sounds like something out of a movie, right? But don't worry, there's no need to think of it as something supernatural or frightening. These phenomena follow the laws of nature, and it's important to understand that Spiritism doesn't view any of this as magic or fantasy. In fact, many of these phenomena have served in the past as evidence of communication between the two worlds. In other words, it's natural and part of the study of mediumship. Have you ever been at home and felt something strange, like something was moving around? That could be a sign of a mediumistic phenomenon. Another very interesting type is the sensitive medium. This is the kind of person who feels the presence of spirits. They may not see or hear the spirit, but they have a heightened perception and can sense when there is something or someone from the spiritual plane nearby. It's like that feeling many of us have had of being watched or getting chills down our spine for no apparent reason. This could be a sign that you are sensitive. Have you ever experienced something like this? Do you understand how this sensitivity can manifest? Let's reflect on this together. But wait, there's so much more. Let's move on to the third type of medium, the hearing mediums. Have you ever thought about hearing a voice, but there's no one speaking? Well, hearing mediums can pick up on the voices of spirits, sometimes as clearly as if they were having a normal conversation. This mediumship can happen in a very clear way, as if the spirit were speaking right next to you, or more subtly, like an inner voice. Now that we've covered physical effects, sensitivity, and spiritual hearing, let's dive into other types of mediumship that are just as fascinating. One of the most attention-grabbing types is the speaking medium. This type of medium can deliver messages directly from spirits through speech. Imagine this. The spirit uses the medium's vocal cords to communicate, conveying teachings or messages to those around. And the most interesting part? Often, the medium has no idea what they are saying. This is because the spirit temporarily takes control of the speech, and the medium simply lends their voice. This might sound a bit hard to believe, but think about how many times you've said something and immediately wondered, how did I come up with that? Or maybe you've seen someone in a trance state, speaking profound things without realizing it. It's more common than you might think, and this phenomenon shows how the spiritual world can manifest in very subtle, or sometimes very obvious, ways. This type of communication is often used to deliver messages of comfort or guidance. Incredible, right? Now, let's talk about seeing mediums who have the ability to see spirits. This spiritual vision can occur in different ways. Some people see spirits as if they were physical beings with impressive clarity. Others, however, might only see forms or shadows, almost like a glimpse of what lies beyond our plane. This can happen with eyes open or closed, in a state of meditation or concentration. Can you imagine being in a peaceful setting and suddenly starting to see what's happening in the spiritual world around you? This spiritual vision is something amazing and can bring about great revelations. Now, take a moment to reflect. Has there ever been a time in your life when you saw something you couldn't explain? Many people describe seeing shadows or figures out of the corner of their eyes, especially during moments of heightened emotional sensitivity. Maybe that was a glimpse into the spiritual world. Fascinating, isn't it? Another captivating type of mediumship is that of the somnambulistic mediums. These individuals have a unique ability. During sleep or trance states, their spirits can consciously communicate with the spiritual realm. While the body is asleep, the spirit is free to act and often returns with information and impressions from the spiritual plane. Have you ever had dreams that felt too real? This could be a sign of this type of mediumship. It's not uncommon for these mediums to wake up with important messages or solutions to issues they were facing. Now, let's talk about something you might have already heard of: healing mediums. As the name suggests, these mediums have the ability to heal or alleviate pain and illness through the laying on of hands or simply by touch. Don't confuse this with magic or something supernatural. It involves both spirituality and the medium's personal magnetism. Many times, these mediums act spontaneously, and their healing can be either physical or spiritual. Who hasn't felt the power of a comforting hug that seems to heal the soul? Something like that, but on a much deeper level. Now that we've explored healing mediumship, spiritual healing phenomena, and the importance of touch and magnetism, let's move on to two other fascinating types of mediumship that connect us to the spiritual realm in unexpected ways. The first is the pneumatographic medium. This type of medium has the ability to produce writings directly from the spiritual world, without the direct intervention of their own consciousness. Does that sound strange? Let me explain it better. Imagine leaving a blank sheet of paper on a table, and after a few minutes, returning to find it filled with symbols or written messages. This happens without anyone physically touching the paper. This phenomenon, which may seem rare or even fantastical, is known in Spiritism as pneumatography. The spiritual world manipulates elements to leave these messages. In the past, this type of mediumship was more common, especially during the early studies of Spiritism, as it helped to prove the existence of real communication between the realms. Nowadays, it's less frequent because the need to prove mediumistic communication has diminished. However, there are still reports of mediums who experience this phenomenon. Can you imagine the surprise of finding a message written in such an inexplicable way? Now, you might be wondering, what is the purpose of this today? Even though it's rare, pneumatographic mediums can still serve as a bridge for important messages from the spiritual world to be conveyed to ours in specific moments. Sometimes, the spiritual realm uses this type of mediumship to offer comfort or to confirm the presence of a loved one. Think of it as a way to reinforce belief in life beyond death in a very concrete way. Now let's move on to the last, but certainly not the least important type of medium, the psychographic medium. This type of mediumship may be the most well-known, especially in Brazil, due to the work of great mediums like Chico Xavier. Psychography is spirit writing, where the spirit uses the medium as a channel to communicate, transmitting messages through writing. This communication can happen in different ways. Some mediums write without knowing what they are doing, as if their hand is automatically guided. This is called mechanical psychography. Others are more conscious and can follow what they are writing, but are still directly influenced by the spirit. This is known as semi-mechanical psychography. Psychography is a powerful tool because it allows spirits to deliver long and detailed messages, something that would be difficult to achieve through other forms of mediumship. Many spiritist books were written in this way, especially those that discuss life after death and the spiritual lessons we learn along the journey. Can you imagine receiving a message from the spiritual realm, written by a medium's hand? It's an experience that can change lives. This type of mediumship offers great comfort to those who have lost a loved one. Through psychography, it is possible to receive direct messages from those who are no longer with us physically but still watch over and help their family and friends from the other side. These mediumistic letters bring hope and solace, showing that life continues beyond death. Now that we've covered all 9 main types of mediumship, it's important to reflect a bit more on how these abilities can influence our everyday lives. Even if you're not an ostensive medium, meaning you don't have one of these abilities in an intense way, that doesn't mean you're disconnected from the spiritual realm. All of us, to varying degrees, are influenced by the spiritual world. This can happen in subtle ways, like premonitions, intuitions, or even dreams that feel so real they leave us pondering for days. Let's talk more about this. You know when you feel like something is about to happen, but you can't quite explain why? This is a classic example of intuitive mediumship or premonitions, which many people experience without even realizing it. It's that feeling that something is coming, that you need to prepare or avoid a certain situation. And you know what's interesting? Most of the time, our instincts are right. Many people tend to ignore these premonitions, but if you start paying attention, you'll notice how the spiritual realm is always sending us small signs. Have you ever experienced something like that? Maybe during a major decision, you felt an inner push or a voice guiding you. This could be a form of mild mediumship, where the spiritual realm is trying to protect or guide you. Often, this kind of spiritual interaction happens so subtly that we don't even realize we're being helped. Another interesting aspect to consider is how these influences can manifest in dreams. In Spiritism, it's believed that during sleep, the spirit partially frees itself from the body and can visit other planes, reunite with loved ones who have passed away, or even receive teachings from spiritual mentors. That's why we sometimes have dreams that feel so real and seem to bring clear messages or answers to problems we're facing. Have you ever had a dream like that? One that felt like more than just a simple dream? This spiritual communication during sleep is something you can explore and develop. Some people even keep a dream journal by their bedside to jot down their experiences and try to identify patterns or important messages. It's a way to become more aware of how the spiritual realm influences us, even while we sleep. Isn't that fascinating? Now, I want you to reflect. How might these small spiritual interactions, these signs we receive in our daily lives, be present in your life? Maybe you've already noticed something but weren't sure if it was really a spiritual message. Or perhaps, now that you've learned more about mediumship, you'll start paying more attention to these signs and open yourself up to these subtle influences. Isn't it amazing to think that, even without having ostensive mediumship, we're all somehow connected to the spiritual world? Now, I want to ask you a question. Have you ever had a spiritual experience that left a lasting impression on you? Maybe you had a premonition that came true, or a dream that felt like more than just a dream. Share your story in the comments, because I'd love to hear more about your experiences. And remember, we all have so much to learn from one another, and sharing these moments can offer new perspectives. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any future content on Spiritism and spirituality. And of course, share this video with friends who are also interested in the topic. Who knows, they might have had mediumistic experiences and didn't even realize it. Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a thought. The spiritual world is much closer to us than we often realize, and mediumship is just one of the ways we connect with it. So, the next time you feel a strong intuition, hear an inner voice guiding you, or have a vivid dream, take a moment to reflect. Could this be a sign of something greater? And how can you use this sign to improve your life and the lives of those around you? Thank you for watching, and may the peace of spirit always be with you. See you next time.